All right, you saw the thumbnail and you see the belts behind me and you're thinking, I want that. I want to win world titles. What is Gabriel's secret? What can I do to take the appropriate steps to get those world titles? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is going to be a fast episode. It's on the fly. Last night, my brother, the one who boxed for years, helped me with lots of my training, helped me improve my hands as I was helping him. We worked together. He got married. So yesterday was busy. We were walking, all around, taking photos, part of the wedding party. And then we went, beautiful wedding. So I didn't have something recorded. I'm waking up this morning like, oh, I got to give these guys something. I want to, keep providing you guys with content. And I saw a picture of myself with the belts and I went, you know what? I think a lot of people would be interested to know what my thoughts are on the steps or the secrets that I have to get these belts. Now, I'm not one of those YouTube channels who wants to string you guys along. There are no absolute secrets. And I could keep that to the very end, but I'm going to tell you straight up. There's no exact one route to get belts. But there are things you can do. And the first thing I want you to know, the first thing that I did to make sure that we could get to the point where these belts behind me were on my shelves and I had the opportunity at least to fight for them, was create a plan. Now I know that sounds very simple, but if you don't have a plan, you're just like, I'm just going to go into the gym and I'm going to train as hard as I possibly can. And that's everything you have. It's not enough. I wish it was, but it's really not. And then you could do the opposite side and have this whole sort of scheme about the steps you're going to take, but you don't train hard enough. Well, obviously that's not going to work out. Even if you get the opportunities, you're not going to be prepared and you're not going to win the fights. So there's this balance that you need to understand. Now, obviously I trained like an animal, but at the same time, I was also scouting out the best route to get to the top, to get my opportunity with the best promotion in the world for kickboxing, which back in the day was K1. So how did we go about looking and deciding what is the route from the bottom up to the top? Well, initially, you just need to build a record. You do not need to worry about whether it's with this promotion or that promotion or that promotion. You just need to find somebody local who will give you fights. And I understand that can be a struggle in itself, but it's just something you have to do. You have to start reaching out to the local promoters, let them know you're ready to fight. If you're as confident as me, you're like, we'll fight anybody, really. As long as you're in the right weight, I will fight anybody. And you just start getting that record building up. Now, from there, it's when things get a little bit more difficult because all of a sudden the local guys don't want to fight you anymore. And you have to start branching out. But people who are far outside your town, promoters who are outside your town, they don't want to fly you in. They don't want to spend money if they can just fill a cart up with local people. So why do people fly you in? Well, first off, they will fly you in if they have a local hometown hero and they need somebody for this guy to beat up. Unfortunately, that usually means when you're traveling, you're going to be fighting somebody who's pretty good. So you need to go there, you need to be prepped up, and you need to be ready to beat the local champ or local hometown hero. Additionally, they'll fly you in if they want your belts. So that brings me to my strategy in climbing through the ranks to get to that point where K1 went, oh, this guy has some belts, and these are legit belts. How did I go about figuring out which belts are legit and which ones are not? Very simple. Back in the day, I looked at Masato. I went, okay, Masato. That time he was K1 Max champion. Before he was the K1 Max champion, what champion was he? I looked up, I went, Masato has an ISKA belt. Did some research on ISKA, International Sport Kickboxing Association. I was going to say Federation, wrong one. Association, ISKA. And I went, okay, Masato had this pro world title. I want that pro world title. So the first thing I did was I started letting the promoters know that I wanted to go after the ISKA belts. Amateur first, of course. So you guys can actually not see because they're down lower on the lowest shelves, but I have an ISKA Canadian title and a North American title. Once I'd won those, then I finally worked up to the point where ISKA would sanction me for an amateur world title. And that was the big stepping stones for me. I wanted to climb up and make sure that when people went, okay, what belts do you have? along with your record, they go, yes, you have a legit organization. And, very important, my association with ISKA, they were able to recognize me. The president came up, watched some of my fights, and he actually recommended me to the big promotions. He was one of the reasons I got in with the big promotions, because you develop that relationship and they're able to recommend you. Now, do not be fooled. My climb from amateur up to pro and winning those Glory and Bellator Pro World titles was not without bumps. Initially, my goal was to be a K1 champion. I signed with K1. I beat Lerdsila. I went, okay, I'm going to win one more fight, and then I was told you'll probably fight for the K1 belt. Oh my gosh, the K1 belt, my dream, that's all I've ever wanted. And then all of a sudden, K1's gone. They closed down shop for a while, and I was supposed to fight. I'd been training. 3 weeks before the fight, they cancel it. You're not going to go through your career to wherever you want without some little glitches, without some hitches. You have to keep pushing forward. But if you want those belts, you want the ones behind me, create a game plan and make sure as you're creating that game plan, you're like, okay, I'm going to train this hard. I'm going to push and push and push. And at this point, maybe in 2 years, I want this amateur world title. And then you push forward, you train harder and harder. And then you have a plan after that I want the amateur or the pro North American world title. And you have it all kind of mapped out. And it's not going to go perfect, but that's essentially what I did to get the belts you see behind me. Slow going, hard fought for, lots and lots of sweat, no tears, but it's just putting in that work and not giving up on something you really want. So I understand this is not a perfect map out for anybody who wants these titles, but hopefully it'll give you that little bit of motivation, inspiration, that if you map things out, you come up with a real game plan, it is an actual possibility. And this is from somebody who had really nothing to stand on. Like, I didn't have any massive help aside from my dad, who was there to help me along the way, making contacts, but we didn't know people, we didn't have massive connections. We built those connections to give me the opportunity to fight. And that's really all you can ask for in this fight sport industry, is at least the chance to test yourself out and see if you can be the best in the world. Many people unfortunately don't get that chance because they don't have the connections. And when they don't have the connections, they kind of go, oh, I'm never going to get an opportunity, and they give up. You have to build those. And the easy way to build them, as I said, find which belts you want, make connections with that promotion or sanctioning body, along with the promotions, and just start fighting for them, and hopefully your opportunity will come. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Short and sweet today, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow for another video.